All right, so welcome to the first official episode of the Chimaera Conversations. So this is a new weekly podcast. Uh, Records every week, mostly Wednesdays, right in time for the new Star Wars media. We are recording live in Chewie's Meme Town, the Discord. Now there will be a link to the Discord in the information below. Basically, all this is talking about the part of Star Wars that I like. Because there's plenty of Star Wars that I like, and there's plenty of Star Wars that I don't. So, um, really, best way to start it off is to talk about the thing that released today, and that is the Book of Boba Fett. Now, the Book of Boba Fett is, if you're unaware, which I'm sure if you're listening, you're probably aware. Uh, the new TV show written by Jon Favreau. Of course, Jon Favreau. I can't praise the man enough. He gave us Iron Man. He basically started the MCU. He gave us The Mandalorian, which, in my opinion, saved Star Wars. And now, of course, he's giving us the Book of Boba Fett. So there was a lot that happened uh, in a 40-minute span of this episode. I got to see a little bit of what Boba was up to uh, in between Mando Season 2 and Return of the Jedi. Got to see him escape the Sarlacc pit. In my opinion, I think they did a great job with it. They did not spend too much time on him escaping the Sarlacc pit. Uh, there's been plenty of fan art over the last 30 years since Return of the Jedi came out, of Boba Fett escaping the Sarlacc pit. Uh, a lot of them have him using the jetpack, which that does not make any sense because, as we are well aware, his jetpack got heavily damaged by Han Solo accidentally. So he did not use his jetpack to escape. From what we saw in the show, he punched a hole into another part of the Sarlacc and barbecued it with his flamethrower. And then I can only assume he ripped and teared his way out, just like Doom Guy. But yeah, he emerges from the sands of Tatooine and then proceeds to get robbed by the Jawas. And of course, that armor later comes to Cobb Vanth and kind of goes full circle from there. But get to see that, you know, he gets picked up by the Tusken Raiders. And I actually kind of predicted this back in Mando Season 2 that Boba Fett was basically adopted by a Tusken Raider clan or tribe, or I don't know what you would quite call them. But yeah, Boba Fett basically becomes a Tusken Raider, and that explains his garb and also the fact that he's carrying a what is it, Joffy stick, and a cycler rifle. Both of those are trademark Tusken Raider weapons. So, like I said, kind of predicted that it was going to be the Tusken Raiders that saved him. But the main question that I'm really wanting to be answered is why didn't he take his armor back from Cobb Vanth? Because obviously he knew Cobb Vanth had the armor. Because, I mean, he was watching the whole crate dragon thing unfold from a distance, and it just doesn't make any sense to me why he just wouldn't go and take it from Cobb Vanth. I'm sure we're going to find out why, um, but I don't know. It better be a pretty good better be a pretty good reason. Uh, so let's see what else was really good about that episode. I loved that you got to see the that other cantina, that more high end cantina, and it of course had um, one thing you'll learn about me is I love Star Tours, the ride at the Disney parks, and Captain Rex, the first Captain Rex, who is a RX series droid, um, was the pilot of the Star Tours vessel. This is, of course, the original Star Tours, not the 2011 upgraded version where there's no longer Rex. But you see an RX droid basically running one of the gambling operations there, and I thought that was a great touch. The fight against the ninja guys um, wasn't my favorite. I thought it was cool. I have no idea what Boba Fett was thinking when he shot that rocket point blank into a shield. That was a stupid decision. Um, he's also wearing a jetpack. He's encircled, and he's got a jetpack. Doesn't use the jetpack, but can't nitpick it too much. Um, the Gamorreans were a good touch. I really liked the Gamorreans. I noticed that when they came out of the cantina that the Gamorreans left. Like, they stopped being right behind Boba, and I thought that was like them betraying him. I was like, oh, well, there goes the Gamorreans. Like, they're clearly sensing something, but then they come in and save the day. So good on them. I don't know if they're ever going to have a name, so I'm going to go ahead and name them. Let's go with Eduardo and Hubert. So Eduardo and Hubert were great parts of the episode. Hope we get to see more of them, and they're not just background characters. Um, let's see. All of the flashbacks were really, really well done. I did very much enjoy the fight with the gigantic four-armed sand ape lizard thing. I'm sure they're going to give that thing a name. I think the subtitles just called it Sand Beast, so I don't know. That was great. I read somewhere, I can't tell you if it's true or not, that Robert Rodriguez, who directed this episode, I think he might have directed, he's the director of all of them because this is kind of his show after he did the Boba Fett episode of, oh, well, after he directed the tragedy back in season 2 of Mando. However, I read that he paid homage to the old stop motion creatures of old Hollywood movies, specifically the Kraken from Wrath of or Clash of the Titans. Now, if you guys have not seen the original Clash of the Titans, all of the monsters and everything are stop motion, and they look great. Even today, like, I mean, it's not the best, but still holds up if you don't mind that too much. But if you go look at a picture of the Kraken from Clash of the Titans and a side by side with the Sand Beast, you can obviously tell that they are very similar. But that was great. I really liked how nonchalant that the Tusken Raiders kind of accepted Boba. Like the chief just came over and passed him a drink. I thought that was great rather than having them crowd around him and like celebrate, throw him on their shoulders. But no, all in all, the season is going to be a blast. Uh, I personally think that I don't know if it's going to be this next episode or the one after, but obviously the mayor is going to be an antagonist. I think that's going to be the main plot of next episode, chapter 2. Um, honestly, I'm hoping that a bigger player comes in because I don't really I think Boba Fett is taking a part of the Hutt cartel and making it his own. And that's big. There's a lot of criminals out there, big players, and I'm sure they're probably going to take notice to this. I'm hoping that it's going to be Kira. Of course, she was Solo in the War of the Bounty Hunters comics. You found out that she's now in control of Crimson Dawn. Now, Crimson Dawn was controlled by Maul, but Maul went off and did his own thing, became a crazy old hermit, and she took over. Um, yeah, he did. He did. Yeah, he died. Um, there there aren't many live action possibilities that they could do, but bringing back Emilia Clarke to be the antagonist to Boba Fett, I think would be very good. Um, Now, I don't know if you can really call Boba a protagonist, given the fact that he is taking over a crime syndicate. Uh, that is crime. It's not like he's taking over a charity. He is taking over a criminal organization that does some pretty bad things. And he says like, "Oh, I'm not going to torture." Like, okay, but you're probably still gonna murder, stuff like that. So, like I said, I don't know if you can really call Boba a protagonist. Um, he definitely is at least going to be an anti-hero a little bit in this show. But as far as we can tell, Boba Fett in the past has still been a pretty bad dude. I mean, he clearly had a knack for incinerating people, or no, disintegrating people. That's because that's what Darth Vader says. He says no disintegrations. So I don't know. We'll see. Um, maybe he's had a change of heart. Maybe Boba Fett's going to get all the crime bosses together, and he's going to say, "Hey, let's all hold hands and let's all sing Kumbaya." I don't think that's going to happen, but it's possible. Other predictions. I'm crossing my fingers that one girl on the bike turns out to be some variation of Mara Jade. Not holding my breath on that. That would just make me happy. Um, Maybe if they named one of these other criminal organization peoples and they're like, "Oh, this one's led by Talon Card," and they just name drop Talon Card, that'd be cool too. I'd 100% be on board with that. Um, but apparently, there's supposed to be a big cameo in this show. Uh, that's very vague. Very vague. Uh, there's a lot of characters in Star Wars that could drop in. Uh, so I'm not holding out my breath for any. The one that I could see happening is um, maybe Mando coming in at the end of the season and being like, "Hey, Boba, my homie, we need help. We're taking Mandalore." Only problem with that is I don't think Boba would be interested in helping retake Mandalore. That's why he didn't stick around after, you know, they rescued the baby. Um, I don't think it's in Boba's nature to really care to. Mandalore's never really been anything to him. And Mandalore obviously wasn't anything to his father either because he, you know, was a bounty hunter. So, um, I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, we're gonna see a live action Omega, Bad Batch, something like that, Captain Rex." That's all highly unlikely. Highly. Like I can't see that happening. I understand that you have Tamora Morrison back. He's on set. But how are you going to make the Bad Batch and or Omega really make sense in this story? I was in a little debate with somebody on YouTube the other day, and they were like, "Well, Omega is Boba's long lost sister." And I'm like, "Okay, that's not really gonna. I don't think that's really gonna mean anything to Boba." Uh, I mean, the only person he really ever cared about was his papa, and his papa's been dead a long time. So, um, plus, shoot, how long is how long is Mandalorian after the Bad Batch? Like 30 years? I think. Like 30 years. Well, there's a 20 year gap between or like a 20-year gap between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. Plus 10 years after the Battle of Yavin. So, And it is long enough, it's been long enough that the New Republic has a pretty firm grasp. I mean, people are using their currency now. And then you got New Republic patrols out. I mean, you saw plenty of that in Mandalorian. So, I'm actually not sure on the date. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't hope to see Omega. I would want them to probably, like, if they're gonna, I want them to reintroduce more Legends characters. Because there's a lot of juicy characters that they could reintroduce. Like I'd personally I'd love to see Kyle Katarn make a comeback. It'd be a little bit hard to introduce Kyle Katarn now. Certainly he couldn't be a Jedi yet, but it's it's kind of hard. Like Disney really shot themselves in the foot because they decided when they were going to make new movies that they were going to make them 20 years after or 30 years after Return of the Jedi. So that gives new authors, screenwriters, script writers, that gives them only 30 years to work with to make stories. And the problem with that is when you have that situation, say you want to introduce a new Jedi character. All right, well, you've got this Jedi. All right. Oh, this Jedi is going to train at Luke Skywalker's academy. Well, okay, that's good and everything. And okay, he's a member of Luke's new Jedi Order. Well, that's great and all, except we know what happens to Luke's Jedi Order in 30 years. It gets demolished by Kylo Ren. So you can't really do much there. And we know in 30 years, from like the Book of Boba Fett, that the New Republic's still going to be around. The First Order is going to come to power, and it's just not enough to work with. After Return of the Jedi, Star Wars was kind of just dead in the water. Like, okay, Empire's defeated. Great. Cool. But then Heir to the Empire came out. And Timothy Zahn expanded the Star Wars story. He gave a super compelling antagonist to the Star Wars heroes. And they don't have a time span to work within. They had from Return of the Jedi onward. They could do what they wanted. And of course, Timothy Zahn laid the groundwork with his novels. And then that went into having the New Jedi Order books. That went into the Vong coming in. And that was, what, 20, almost 30 years of storytelling. 30 years. And I mean, there were even like Star Wars Legacy, the Star Wars Legacy comics. That was a really unspecified amount of time after the expanded universe books. Like it was set far, far into the future of Star Wars. And you can't really they could still do that. Like technically they could still, do post sequels. Like and they're probably going to do it eventually, right? They're going to make post sequel Star Wars. There's probably going to be books about Rey's Jedi Order, the Jedi's that Rey started. And of course Disney hasn't done that yet because the sequels just weren't good. They just weren't. They didn't do enough to make people want to read more of this. So that's why Disney did the High Republic instead. And the High Republic isn't even, that successful. I I talked to a lot of Star Wars fans, right? And a very small percent of those Star Wars fans have read the High Republic. So I truly don't know what Disney is doing. Disney has really one thing going for them, and that's the television shows produced by Dave Filoni and written by Jon Favreau. Those are the only like unanimous this is great Star Wars. I mean even the Bad Batch, that was still pretty divisive. Not everybody liked the Bad Batch. But you've got to try pretty hard to really find people that won't, you know, say Mandalorian's great or that they didn't enjoy the Book of Boba Fett, the first episode. And this has this paved a way. The Mandalorian paved a way to all these different shows that we're getting now. And we're getting what? We're this just in 2022, this next year. We're getting the rest of the Book of Boba Fett. We're getting Andor. We're getting Kenobi. We're getting the Bad Batch season 2. Those My mic just decided to shut off. That was weird. But we're getting 3 live action shows that are all thanks to The Mandalorian. Truly. So there's a lot, you know, to be looking forward to in Star Wars. But I always worry that Disney is going to prioritize the wrong thing. And that it's just I don't know. The whole Disney owning Star Wars, and don't even get me started about the video games. the Star Wars video games that we've gotten under Disney has been uh, rough to say the least. I mean, how many good games did we get? What game came out where people immediately said, "Oh, this is good. This is a good game." I can think of one, and that was Jedi Fallen Order. It's the only game where it came out and people were like, "Oh, yeah, this is a good game." Because when Battlefront came out in 2015, people were like, "It sucks. There's not enough content." And then when Battlefront 2 came out, people were like, "Ha, this sucks. There's not enough content." Now, of course, Battlefront 2 now has um, it's a good game. The only problem is that EA stopped developing the game and they just left it. Now, Squadrons is a good game. The only problem is that it's not a game for everybody. It's essentially a flight simulator. Like I love X-wings. I love Star Wars space combat. I played the Rogue Squadron games on my GameCube. However, Squadrons I didn't enjoy. I thought the learning curve was too much, and I didn't enjoy it. Now I will call it a good game. Like it's not a bad game. It's a good game. It's just not the kind of game that Star Wars kind of needed. So, and now we only know of one Star Wars game that's coming out, and that's Eclipse. And that's already in trouble. I'm sure if you guys have seen the controversy with the owner of the company making it. Um, Also, apparently, they're running into issues with the engine that they're building the game on. So, it's just, it's. And you'd really think that Star Wars and Disney really would be pumping out Star Wars games on a regular basis. Just like what we had with LucasArts. I mean, you always had Star Wars games coming out. Republic Commando, Revenge of the Sith. Those were like in the same year. Those came out in like the same year, like 2005. Um, the original Battlefront 2, the original Battlefront, the first one. Bounty Hunter, Force Unleashed 2, Rogue Squadron, X-Wing, TIE Fighter, all these games, Jedi Knight Fallen Order or Jedi Knight Outcast, Jedi Academy, all these amazing games that just continuously came out. And with Disney, in the span of like, when did Disney acquire? 2014 or 2012? Was it 2012 that Disney acquired Star Wars? Let me look. Okay, 2012. So we're coming up on a decade of Disney owning Star Wars. And we have a handful of games by them. Just 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 a handful. And it's been 10 years. So that's sad. And it's I don't know. I They could do a lot more. They really could. They could be pumping out a game. The I mean, when Disney bought Star Wars, I think I was in 7th grade. If I'm timing that right, I was in 7th grade when Disney bought Star Wars, and I was ecstatic of being a Star Wars fan in 2012 because I was so hyped for Star Wars 1313. Star Wars 1313 was a game that I followed every piece of development for. If I heard something new about like if something new dropped about 1313, I was on it. And then Disney bought Star Wars, and I was like, oh, okay, like okay, I like Disney. I like going to Disney World. I love Disney World. And like the first thing they did was cancel everything. They canceled it all. They canceled they canceled 1313. They canceled the Clone Wars. And I'm over here like 13 years old, and I've never felt like more betrayed. Like, what in the crap? Like, everything I knew just plummeted. And then they took the expanded universe, all the Star Wars books that I grew up on, and they went ah and threw it in the garbage can. And they said, "This isn't canon anymore." It's like, "This is garbage." And I'm like, "What? What?" It's like, "What is this?" Like, what? And it it was, I mean, it's just like I took it hard. I felt betrayed. I really did. I And then they started coming out announcing all of their Star Wars stuff. Like they were like, we're going to release Star Wars Episode 7. And everyone was like, "Oh my god, we're getting another Star Wars movie?" Like, "Oh, okay." And I'm not going to lie, I was hyped. Like they dropped those trailers and I was eating that up. I was like, It's like, this is some good stuff. Like, this is good content. I like this. I like this, Disney. I really do. And then they released like images and stuff of like the stormtroopers. And on the day that like all the new Star Wars merchandise dropped, I made my mom take me from store to store to try and find a Stormtrooper Black Series figure, like one of the new First Order Stormtroopers. They released a Black Series figure for it, and I tried my hardest to find it. Uh, Needless to say, I didn't. I did not find it, and so that was disappointing. I eventually got it, but then the movie came out, and I was like, okay, this is pretty good. It was essentially A New Hope. It was essentially A New Hope. Like we're not kidding ourselves anymore. Like you don't have to defend Force Awakens. It's A New Hope. Like in chat, can all of you just type it's A New Hope? Thank you. Yep, I just want confirmation. Yeah, it's A New Hope. I knew it. But anyways, it's not a bad movie. it it played it safe. It played it really safe. But I was excited. I was excited for episode 8. And then and then it got even better. They released Rogue One. Oh my god. I loved Rogue One. I saw that in theater probably like 5 times. I could not get enough of that movie. And then another year rolls around, and we're getting trailers for this movie called The Last Jedi. And I liked the trailers. I liked the trailers. I was intrigued, especially when Luke Skywalker said it's time for the Jedi to die. I was like, dang. I was like, what happened to Luke Skywalker that made him, say this? I thought it was I thought it was going to dive into like gray Jedi stuff. Like I thought it was going to be like, you know, the Jedi need to die, the Sith need to die. It's let's just all hop in the middle, right? Um no, that's not what happened. The Last Jedi came around. I went opening day with my family. Um that was the first time I saw something Star Wars that didn't didn't make me feel like I just watched something Star Wars. I left that movie less of a Star Wars fan than I walked in. That movie basically turned me off of Star Wars for quite a while. Like I was like, okay, you know what? I didn't like that movie at all. I didn't like about anything about that movie. The cinematography was great, right? The soundtrack was good, but nothing else was good about that movie. Flash forward another year, and Solo comes out. I love Han Solo. Han Solo has always been my favorite Star Wars character. I know everyone in the Discord's going to say blasphemy. There's no way that anybody but Thrawn is your favorite Star Wars character. Um, but it's actually Han Solo. Han Solo has always been my favorite, and will continue to be my favorite. So I went and saw Solo. I liked Solo. Solo is a good Star Wars movie. It's got flaws. It's got flaws, but it's a Star Wars movie at heart. And the ending, the coaxium deal, is hilarious. What they did, it's absolutely hilarious when they're running through the plan, and he actually has the coaxium there, and they're like, oh, you don't actually have the coaxium. That's hilarious. And then Han got to shoot first again. And that was great because I always was so offended by the fact that they changed it to where Han didn't shoot first. And he got to shoot first. And I respected that so much. And the Darth Maul reveal at the end didn't do much for me. I mean, he was already back in the Clone Wars. So, I mean, oh, look, it's Ray Park again. Hey, Ray Park, I like you, but Didn't really do much. It was stupid how he ignited his lightsaber for no reason. Uh, like, oh, look, I'm Darth Maul. I have a double-bladed lightsaber. Did you remember? Did you forget? I didn't. I didn't forget you had a double-bladed lightsaber. But no, Solo was a good movie. So I saw that I think 3 times in theaters. Uh, so my liking of Star Wars started to come back. So it and then well, we all know what comes after Solo. Um, now I didn't I never had high expectations. I never had high expectations for the Rise of Skywalker. I didn't. I didn't. I saw that the entire movie leaked like 2 weeks before the movie came out, and someone posted it on Reddit like a summary of the movie. And I read that Reddit post, and I was like, "Oh, this can't be real." I was like, "This is fake. This is fake." Um, it wasn't fake. Everything that I read in that leak was the movie. It was legitimately the movie, and um, I saw that movie twice in theaters, once with my friends and then once with my family. Um, and to answer the question, chat, which is better, The Last Jedi or The Rise of Skywalker? I would rather shoot myself in the foot than having to pick between them because I hate them both. Um, the Last Jedi was bad just because it got everything about Star Wars wrong. And I also believe that The Last Jedi is the reason The Rise of Skywalker is bad. Because they tried to go back and fix everything The Rise of Skywalker messed up. And that included bringing in Palpatine. Right? That included bringing in Palpatine. And I think all of the root causes. I'll actually say it. I like The Rise of Skywalker more than The Last Jedi. Because most everything bad about The Rise of Skywalker is because of The Last Jedi. Like, if The Last Jedi didn't screw up so bad, The Rise of Skywalker probably would have been a better movie. But it's Disney's fault. It's Kathleen Kennedy's fault because they didn't have a clear plan of what they were doing with the sequels. And I'll also give you guys another reason why The Rise of Skywalker is better than The Last Jedi. Alright, hear me out. Wedge Antilles. My boy Wedge got to come back. Even if it was just for a brief second. Wedge Antilles was back. But I think that is where I am going to end the first episode of the podcast. So, thank you guys for coming, and I hope to catch you next week.